not everybody has got shitloads of money like the bloody producer, which is why he's set us poor people a challenge to take portraits with only one flash. And he's also given us a very low budget today, so that's why I'm eating a cup noodle. So as we've got a cheapo budget for our setup, I look like a tramp, and also we've got a very modest setup. Let me show you it. This is a Nikon D3100, 3100, whatever. That's the entry-level DSLR, the Nikon range. And we've got a 50mm f1.4G, which is nice. And we've got a Nikon Speedlight SB900, which is technically the most expensive in the range, but it's still cheaper than those studio lighting, Broncolor. It's also cheaper than diamonds. So there you go. That's our one flash setup, along with this, a mini softbox from LumiQuest to make light a lot more soft, hence the name softbox. Well, the first thing that you have to do is really consider the light. When you shoot in the morning or the evening when the sun is at its lowest, that's really nice light. But the trouble is, the sun changes incredibly quick then. It goes from low position to high really quite quickly. And the thing is, that means you have to keep changing the settings of the flash. If you're shooting in high noon, and I don't mean that's some kind of cowboy western thing, when the sun is at its highest, you get really strong shadows. The sun is at its brightest, and your model will be squinting, and that's not really good. Today is quite nice because it's soft lighting due to the fact that it's really cloudy. The clouds are God's diffusers, or if you're an atheist, they're just diffusers, big diffusers, natural diffusers. So the thing is, you don't actually need this for a day like this, but if you want to bring your subject out from the background, these are great. So let's get started. Skimped on the equipment, but not the talent. We've got Kinky again, so she's on the phone, so that doesn't matter. But I'm trying to get this hot shoe cover off. Mind you, although I say we didn't skimp on the model, we could only afford 15 minutes of Kinky time, on a monthly instalment plan too. First of all, you meet her for the background, and you get that perfectly exposed, and that's with the flash off. Now what you should do is you should have a light meter, but we're tight on this video, so we just have to try different power settings on the flash. It's all about experimenting with your lighting setups. Okay. But if you've just started out using flashes, here are some things to try and some things to look out for. That is the most basic thing you can do with one flash. Sometimes photographers will use this for effect though, but using full frontal key lighting isn't the best to bring out the shape of your subject's face. Plus, note the red eyes makes her look like a devil lady. Okay, that's nice, but the thing is, we want to take the flash off the camera because it's not quite natural to see your subject with lighting straight in the face unless it's a crime scene or you're running them over with a car in the night time. So we're going to take this off and have it placed off camera. Okay, well the D3100, 3100, whatever, is actually about as old tech as the Lego camera. You see, it's got no commander, so I can't get this to fire this wirelessly. I have to use the flash and use the optical trigger here by setting this to remote, and that will fire that and bang in your face. But the trouble is, this is on camera, which I don't quite like, so we can set that down to the lowest power, and that will just kind of act as a fill-in flash. You see, even though I got Nikon and Nikon, technically you can actually use this with a Canon or whatever because it's just using the flash, and this is what Chase Jarvis used with the Lego camera. He used the Lego camera's flash to hit that, and it really works. See, the thing is with the subject is that she kind of blends in with the background. Now, one thing we can do is use this and put this right behind her to bounce it off her hair, to give some separation light to separate her from the background. But the thing is, I don't really want to use this, well, not too much of it, because it's the frontal light that I don't really want. And I've got a little trick here to use a business card, Lock's business cards, and you should probably tape it there to deflect that onto that, to trigger that, and then that won't go to the subject. Useful for if you don't have octopus arms. You point it down a little bit. Flash stands cost more money. Friends are cheap. If you don't have any friends, then just pretend to be somebody's friend and then get them to hold your flash. It really works. Now, hot cup noodle coming to use here. Of course, you can actually narrow the flash on this expensive flash here. I know we've got expensive flash, but for some of you students, whatnot, with less. Oh, great, that doesn't fit. You might have to hold a cup on it, it keeps falling off. She's good at holding. And she says she doesn't play sports. It's all right. Yeah. Pointed at her head. Think of it as a gun and you're shooting in the head. Okay? It would have been better if the pot noodle pot was the other way round, but it wouldn't fit that way. I just wanted the light to hit the subject's hair and perhaps the shoulders to highlight them, bringing out a bit of detail and separating them from the background. You don't need too much power for this, unlike the key lighting. The soft ambient lighting acts as your key lighting here. There's actually quite a bit of nice ambient light coming down. It's quite cloudy today, so it's quite a nice soft light. But you can use a flash, just a little bit of flash, for highlights on the hair to kind of bring her out from the background a bit. Maybe a bit more kind of from behind her, yeah. Blasting your subject with undiffused light for highlights is more dramatic, though you might want to soften the light if you want something a little more natural, especially when your ambient light is so soft. You see, when you point this at an angle, and using this as a main light at a 45-degree angle, pointing this way and down, you have shadows on the face. Her nose will be essentially a sundial, so we need a reflector to fill in those shadows. And it's much closer, close to the face. Oh yeah, she might need to take off her clothes. Not like that. Okay, got an ND filter to stop the exposure down so that I can use this flash and shoot wide open. So here we go. A reflector is sufficient for the fill light. It's just to soften the shadows to make one's face look less sundialish. Move the reflector closer to your subject to enhance the effect. It's even better if your reflector has legs and also ears. Although you can control the brightness of the background by changing the shutter speed higher or lower. But do bear in mind the flash sync. You can use either the ambient or the flash for fill. Make sure the key light is the strongest source of light though, otherwise it's not a key light. Your key lighting doesn't have to come from the front either. Having the key light on the side and slightly behind is great for bringing out the definition of the face for profile shots. Well, this isn't a profile portrait, but it still works nicely to add shape to the face. So, there we have it. Some ideas on how to get started with shooting portraits with one flash. It would be better to have a flash stand and something like a pocket wizard to trigger the flash without having to use the onboard camera flash to trigger the off-camera flash. But this is how you could do it without them. You would be better off with some more gear, but you can do it with the basics. There are some photographers who love using just one flash, and I can see why. There is something quite free and easy about shooting with just the one. If you're just starting out, then this is the perfect way to get a grasp of shooting with flashes. Which is why I'm having a cup noodle lunch. Fuck it on top.